Thank you very much, Kalaris and Dread, for casting this first game. And man, that was a brilliant display by Team Naventic. They really stuck to their guns there. They used their strengths, which was, of course, McIntyre on that Kerrigan for a lot of the games and plays that they made. And they looked like a different team here, didn't they, J-How?
This is the Naventic we're used to seeing. I mean, McIntyre on Kerrigan, that's what he's known for a very long time. He's known at being that strong melee assassin. But Naventic's aggression is also something that they're known for, and that's something they put on display time and time again. I think the guys called it 33 kills by the time this was over.
Yeah, Kerrigan looking totally dominant. It was all Mac in that game. I feel really carrying the game by himself. The Shaman invade was really smart, and I do feel like PBA played a little bit more passively than they should have with their globals. Like, well, Sylvanas not a global, but the pressure that she has, the pressure they had with Falstad as a global, they kind of just sat back and took it.
And there were many fancy moves and many great plays, of course, that took place. But J-How, you were going to take us to the first replay.
Yeah, I mean, this is execution at its finest. We're going to highlight Fan here. Now, of course, we saw McIntyre dominating quite a bit. Let's go ahead and pause it real quick. Now, look at where PBA is. They kind of forgot somebody when they gusted away. And you can see the rest of the team here going for Naventic. They're going to drop back. But let's highlight one person in particular. That's going to be Fan, who's not really affected as much because he's closest to, and you're going to see here in just a moment as we go ahead and roll this forward, and a force wall goes up just right there. The rest of PBA says, wait a minute, and it's too little too late, and we saw this type of aggression. He's going to go the dwarf toss over, coming over from Murd, and you could see the execution there from Naventic. That is the plays we know them to make, gentlemen.
And that is exactly also what we were touching upon when the draft started, that with the force wall on Tasty, you just get insane value on the shrines and those choke points that you control there. They did that really well, and that kill, of course, helped them a lot. The Punisher once again pushing in. And the pressure that Naventic actually built up, they never really let that go.
Definitely. So very impressive performance by Naventic, but now it's all about carrying that momentum and playing that well in the second round as well, because let's be honest, once again, this is the second group phase, and if you lose this series, you're out. J-How, take over.
All right, guys, now we get a chance to highlight McIntyre. Stop it right there. McIntyre, watch the combo. You can see it already executing right here. It's going to pull it in. You're going to see a nice hunting wave out by Sylvanas. Let's go ahead and roll this forward just a little bit, but the force wall's in place. Now, it locks in one. You can see the continued follow-up from Naventic. They're going to continue to try and push. That's force wall number one. Gravity lamps coming in. You can see the aggression. Naventic just in full-on assault. Down at the bottom, we have PBA Scroll. He's going to go down. Now, the fight rages on. Nice Wailing Arrow comes out. The Ancestral does not land. But here we go. You're off to safety. But one little surprise from a man named Fan as he throws up another force wall. There comes the aggression. Down goes members of PBA. The follow-up time and time again between Kerrigan, between Tassadar there. Fan and McIntyre, that game looked phenomenal.
Another problem that it really had is that Toronto was just never able to out-heal that damage that was done. It was not only the lack of a cleanse where you were trying to keep a hero alive, but at the same time, when we were talking about the Shadowstalk, it was just not enough. You have that Kalthas with the Living Bombs, the Phoenix is in, then of course that burst damage they were trying to execute against the isolated target. And so, yeah, Toronto alone just didn't have what it takes to keep them in the fights long enough.
However, there is still one more game to be played, and of course the next battleground is going to be none other than Sky Temple. So you now get to see the lovely background here live on stage. And Sky Temple, guys, is a battleground that is brutal. If you screw up early on, you will get punished hard.
This is another map to where we see Zeratul excel, and we've seen PBA be a little bit weary of it time and time again, especially on these bigger maps. And that is something that we do see Fan play, and several members. Again, Naventic has very flexible heroes, and their hero pool is flexible. I look for them to dominate once again. I think this is a map that favors Naventic even more.
I think they looked way better in that first game that we just saw in this series than in either game against Black. It looked like they got the heroes they wanted. When I looked at the draft, like almost like an outside objective perspective, I looked, I'm not sure if this is going to work out. You got to deal with Sylvanas, you have to deal with Falstad, they have ETC Toronto in the early game, but their execution and their team comms and everything they did, all their shot calling seemed to be really on point, so I think that's why they took that first game.
And you mentioned it, Wolf, that McIntyre often is considered to be the weakest link, but his Kerrigan performance was on point. How important is that?
I think it's super important. Obviously, if you're on a hero you're really comfortable with and you shine, that's, I mean, we're going to see games like that.
You don't get much better Kerrigan play than that, I can say that much.
The one thing that we also have to keep in mind, by the way, when we're talking Sky Temple, is that this is also a map where PBA won against earlier on Gale Force Esports. This was actually where they started to turn things around here. And one of the things that helped them were that they had incredible rotation on this map. They kill Tassadar over and over and over again against Gale Force, and that's not an easy hero to take down. So PBA is definitely quite comfortable with the map. But in the last game, Naventic, they showed how strong they are, and they really showed their skills. So at this point, they are definitely the favorite to take the series.
I think it's a battle of matchups. The thing about Naventic, they lost to Gale Force just a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago at this point. But the thing is, PBA took down Gale Force. I don't think the contrasting playstyles between Naventic and Gale Force, I think this is what's really given PBA some trouble.
And also what we're seeing now, they pick Arthas again. We come back to that series against MVP, but this was really one of the biggest problems that they had. The drafts right now, I like a lot more what I'm seeing here. They picked the early Arthas for PBA, that means a Muradin. They have, as we all know, a huge priority on Greymane, and I'm pretty sure that Naventic is already thinking about potentially even banning him out if they don't take it.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're just going to take Rhaegar here. Obviously, Muradin, really strong warrior, but Rhaegar can roam the map. It's a very large map where roaming is important. Falstad's already been taken away from them.
The thing is, like, we haven't really seen them prioritizing healers that much. They are totally confident going into Tyrande solo. They played against Easter. They played it in the last game. So it feels like they are one of the teams that can really just, like, drag it out a little bit and are very confident going into different healers as well.
I feel like this is the point to where they think, do we go Greymane and secure some damage, or do we have to play the support roles? I mean, we've seen not a lot of flexibility out of them. They are going to play it very safe here, which means that we potentially will see either Greymane picked up here or banned out once again.
They may want to grab their warrior here if they want to prioritize that, and ETC obviously going to be available. And if you don't take ETC here, he gets banned in the next phase 100%. So I think that's a given. And if they go Greymane, you have to really think about what's going to support him, how you're going to keep him alive. We're going to see Tassadar again. I think PBA may ban it. They're going to take Tassadar first, and if PBA doesn't take Greymane here, I think they absolutely will get it.
I almost wonder if PBA is going to be baited into banning Uther, because I know Kenma is capable of playing Brightwing, but he also plays a very good Kharazim, and the fact that you already have Tassadar on the board allows you to be a little bit more flexible with that. Obviously, Uther pairs well with ETC in several facets, especially being able to de-shield that mosh pit, but are they going to take the bait here? That's the question for PBA, and if they don't, will Naventic indeed pick up Uther anyways?
With the style that PBA has been showing, they might even be afraid of that Tyrande, considering that it's just another stun lockdown. They have several times now tried to run that combo themselves. In the last game, it was actually interesting to see that they didn't rely as heavily on it as we expected here. PBA was going for that Tyrande and ETC, but they definitely are going to ban a support out. And it looks like they're leaning more towards that Uther. It's actually like very common that you have something like an Uther Tassadar in the Chinese region and then have a Greymane, for example, at the front line, or like even a Thrall and try to just make him into an absolute monster.
And it looks like they're not going to be using Greymane, though. They're going to ban him away.
It's going to be interesting to see how flexible Kenma is on his supports, because that used to be one of his weaknesses, actually, the limited hero pool.
That ban on Greymane, by the way, is exactly what we've been talking about earlier. If they pick Rhaegar, then it has a very high chance that Naventic just says, like, yeah, you're not going to get that Greymane here. And in this case right now, they have to go into another hero, and Li Ming gets huge poke value on this.
I wonder if we're going to see Sylvanas, because PBA loves Sylvanas on this map. They played her last game as well, and I think Sylvanas, we don't have a frontliner yet besides Muradin, but I think Sylvanas is a good pickup here.
If Sylvanas is picked up, look for Zeratul to come out. And this is a map that I just checked my notes. Naventic has played multiple times on this map specifically. If he's looking at Sylvanas and Li Ming, all of a sudden that's scary.
Looking juicy.
PBA
Ooh,
actually,
Zagara.
they like Sylvanas on this map. It looks like they're switching it up a bit, but this is also the map where they played against Big Gods and got that massive value out of Sylvanas at the top lane.
Yeah, I think this is a great map for Sylvanas. The Sylvanas play we saw last game was not my favorite, but Zagara can do obviously a similar role. She can push a lane very hard alone.
And
not as much of an escape, though.
They didn't really look too bad with a Zagara in the ranks against E-Star Gaming in the first game. Oh, wait, but they're not going for Zagara. They're going for Turiel instead.
I feel that they're a little bit afraid of that ETC and Arthas comp. The reason why they went into Muradin over another hero earlier when they had their chance to pick is that Muradin gets more value out of Sky Temple since he can just easily get one of the objectives on his own. But they still seem to be a little bit afraid of all that lockdown, and if Turiel goes for Sanctification, they can actually make quite a bit happen here.
Yeah, they don't have a melee assassin in that slot yet. And obviously with the range damage from Li Ming, I think they're going to be looking for that going to their fifth pick. It might be Sonya, but the thing is Naventic's just going to take it away. It already works well with their Tassadar. I don't know about this Turiel pick. I'm not a big fan, personally.
I think they're definitely trying something different. I love the Sonya pickup. It allows Naventic to be a little bit more, I guess, traditional with this. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kharazim. The problem that we have with Kharazim is if they do come up with some type of huge push comp on PBA, and if they end up going triple melee, the scary thing for PBA is they've got Kael'thas staring back at them.
They also still have the PBA has still the option to go into that Sylvanas, and then they have like
Yes.
two options how to play it. If they want to try and go for a full YOLO game, they can just simply jump Kael'thas and go for even Judgment here. But of course, the more traditional part is to just simply rely on the Sanctification, since you are afraid of all that lockdown.
Here she comes. The Zerg Queen is, of course, here, Zagara. Now, I'm a little bit worried for PBA here, if I'm honest with you guys, because if you take a look at the draft here coming in from the Naventic, it has barely any weaknesses.
Yeah.
Strong healing, strong engage, strong damage with the Kael'thas. How are you going to stop this draft?
I mean, I think it's going to have to be through split pressure with Zagara, but is that going to be enough? Like, I mean, if you look at these comps, there's no one to really go and chase Zagara and kill her. You don't have a Zeratul to harass her. You don't have a Falstad to deal with that split pressure. But I think when it comes to team fights, Sanctification isn't going to get much value, and this comp is much weaker than what Naventic has on the table.
Keep in mind that ETC can be punished if he power slides in too far and he distances himself from the team. Obviously, Kirazim can help dive in. The problem is the only hard CC that we're actually looking at is Muradin on a Stormbolt there. You can get a little bit of slow from the totem, and depending on how that kind of goes, maybe you can get a little bit more value, but being able to follow up on somebody on that with somebody like Li Ming, that's going to be very difficult to do.
How are you going to get resets? How are you going to blow people up with this composition?
We have actually a couple of tools that they can use in the team fights. I mean, Holy Ground at level 16 could kick in. You have Sanctification, you have that more available. But on the other side, you have like non-heroics that just do so much for the team fights. The Power Slide and ETC being one of them. Then you have the Gravity Labs. You can use Kael'thas in this case. You can also, of course, like jump in with that Force Wall once more. And we've seen these Force Walls in the last map already. They were absolutely exceptional. If you use those to control the fights and just split them, you get massive value out of them.
We could have made an entire highlight reel off of those
Yeah.
by the way. Like an
They were
entire highlight
insane.
reel.
They were so good. And I really feel that Naventic got everything that they wanted, and after the last map, they probably have a lot of confidence as well going into game number 2.
And Calder, you bring up a good point. If you take a look at the draft coming in from PBA, they're all dependent on cooldowns. Li Ming needs to get the resets. Zagara, long cooldown on Ma. Tyrael, pretty much useless without Sanctification, so very hard to pull that off. But Calder, why don't you give us your prediction for game number 2?
Naventic is going to take this. Easy peasy is going to be a 2-0 victory.
Easy peasy, Wolf. Do you agree?
I was really thinking that we weren't going to see this result, but I think I have to go with Naventic. The draft is just way too good in the second game, and they won the first one.
I was expecting this, and I'm so glad to see that Caldor is finally on NA side. Naventic.
Naventic, and I think I'll make it a 4-0 in favor of Naventic because on paper they look solid. They played flawlessly in the first game, so I'm definitely positive on a really good outcome for them. Without further ado, though, let's once again take it, or let's actually bring it over to our lovely casters, which are, of course, Dreadnought and Kalaris. Boys, do it one more time.
Thank you very much, guys. Time to get into game number 2. Sky Temple as Naventic lead 1-0. And I've got to echo what they said at the desk. What a draft.
Yeah, not only the draft, but then, I mean, they're a team that's famous for playing off their emotions. When you dominate that hard, especially like Mac, you got to be feeling like a god right now.
All right, let's get into it. Game number 2. To the left-hand side, we have PBA. This is their last chance to stay alive in the tournament with Zola playing Rehgar, Goddog on Li Ming, Alpha on Zagara, Baphomet playing Muradin, and finally Scroll on Tyrael.
And for Naventic, we're going to have Zuna on ETC. Big impact on Kael'thas. Kenma is going to be on the Karazim. McIntyre playing Tassadar. And Sonya will be played by the one, the only Fan.
All right, let's get into things then. Let's get into proceedings to find out who is going to be staying alive in this tournament. It's all down to this.
This is already... So going out the gates, they're going to try and get the turrets on the bottom half of the map abusing Zagara, but Naventic has already sniffed this out by sending Tassadar up top, and it's not looking good for PBA already.
No, not at all. Scroll took some damage there. Baphomet's coming down as well. Tassadar is away from here, so they could get a kill. Sonya will go down. That's first blood going over to PBA in that 5 versus 4.
So they sniffed it out, but the rotation from the Tyrael coming a bit earlier than that of McIntyre and the Tassadar. Really well done from PBA here, already showing that they are the aggressors in this matchup.
Yep, nicely done. And looking across the talents, Roger Reforging being picked up for Tyrael, which if Eldrune's might hits, its cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds. So not the most common of talents, but it's still something that is quite powerful in terms of being aggressive.
Yeah, it is. And look at him constantly making the aggressive movements here. Over Naventic, McIntyre making a bit of a rotation, and when it comes to the lane swapping here, worrying about the bottom lane a bit more. I do like this lane choice coming out from PBA here. It's a tri-lane on bottom, not something you see very often when it comes to Sky Temple specifically.
And Scroll is basically the tender, really, of these two lanes. He's just sat in between them, trying to spot it out, but I don't know if he's fully sniffed out this one. It is a little bit later than he was expecting. Zola trying to go around the left-hand side, but will they sniff him out herself? As McIntyre under quite a bit of threat there from Scroll. They will have to get away, and whoa! Tastadar goes down in the back lines.
That was a really beautiful rotation from Zola. Yeah, he got baited out a bit, but by rotating on bottom, he gave his team a really easy rotation. It would have forced Naventic to overextend, and they would have died. So he did very good there, allowing to bait out for his team to get the kill. They did get a small advantage when it comes to the Shrine for Naventic, but right now, PBA is actually looking great in this match.
Yeah, really good start. Really good start. Not exactly the most conventional of drafts in terms of warriors and then damage dealers behind it. Whereas Naventic, of course, has some of the big powerhouses of Heroes of the Storm. As there is a bit of a fight going on towards middle. Kenma, a little bit low on mana, but it looks like they should be able to get the pickup here on towards the first reg up, and he will go down.
And they're probably going to be making the rotation to the top shrine now that they've secured mid shrine and those kills. They try and close them off. They need to have a very aggressive rotation. Notice how they're all moving to the right except for Kenma.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to secure any of these kills. They need to move to the left, cut them off. So already Naventic, yeah, they'll finish the last 5 shots on that shrine, but they could have gotten a kill.
Yep, Baphomet's positioning up towards the very top of the shrine was quite deep in. And we will have a pause for a moment here.
But when it comes to the talents here so far taken in this matchup, Rhaegar going with both Wolves, Dominance at 4. So far, really nothing surprising when it comes out from either of these teams.
It's funny, I think I can't help but feel we see Dominance less and less nowadays.
Yeah. Triumvirate is kind of becoming the more common one. On this map, it doesn't gain as much value. Yes, your opponents most likely are going to be staying on a shrine, and you can hope for the long-range orb.
Yeah.
But the zoning potential on this map exists much higher than some of the others, so I feel like Dominance is a pretty smart pickup for them.
And especially if Li Ming actually wants to get quite deep into these fights as well. If we see Calamity at level 7, which isn't as common either, really, unless you're seeing like full teleport builds to what we saw in the past. We'll see how that's going to go, because technically the combos can be wild from that position onwards.
Yeah, it definitely can be wild, as you put it here. Sorry, it was snickering at the banter between the teams. But it's just a minor DC here, guys. It's nothing major. We're going to get them right back into the game as soon as possible. But really, PBA, I am surprised that they've been able to be so aggressive when it comes to their composition this early in the game. I really like the fact that they decided to go with that tri-lane, because when you look at the laning matchups coming out from Naventic, they do have a decent amount of wave clear and can make the appropriate rotations. But with how good of strong solo and tri-laners you see from PBA, they really maximize their laning phase as best you can, and it's not common on Sky Temple to see that.
And as I was saying, it's not exactly the most common build pickup in terms of composition that we have here from PBA. It's nice to see more Tyrael being incorporated, though. Just in general, I feel that as much as Asia still values Tyrael in one way or another, I still think that the Western scene doesn't value him as much as they should be doing.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that statement. And this composition specifically, I'm not too sold on it, largely because I feel like not having the melee assassin that can complement, like with the smite, and then also having promise on sanctification, I think those are a little bit of a struggle. But overall, I completely agree. Very undervalued when you look in North America and Europe.
So with the start that PBA has got here, do you think that there is the potential that they're able to take this game in terms of moving on, continuing this decision-making? Can they continue it against Naventic? Or does Naventic pick up speed with the composition that they've got later on down the line?
I feel like all of it comes down to, number 1, the Moz, and then number 2, Li Ming.
Okay.
If Li Ming can play out of her mind, I really do think that they have a lot of potential. I would also say that I feel like Naventic has kind of slightly misplayed this with their aggression and where they decide to make the rotations. They weren't expecting that laning decision with the tri-lane to the bottom half of the map on Sky Temple. So I really do feel like they won't gain as much as momentum as maybe they've like shown early in this matchup, right? They've shown to be the dominant team. I don't think that's going to be the case as this moves on. But if Li Ming can just get 1 to 2 resets, they really do have a great composition to come back.
I'm looking across the rest of the map at the moment, whilst we are in this pause here, as we're still just waiting for, I think it is God Dog who has disconnected during all of this. I'm looking at the potential soak And McIntyre has good grasp of the bottom lane, but there's actually nobody near the bottom lane at the moment for Alpha, for PBA. It looks like Alpha will be moving down there. So as it says, just waiting for a moment. Well, as you can see our admins on screen, trying to sort out the problems here for PBA.
Yeah, I mean, just a minor hiccup here into the matchup. Sure, it will be no time, but again, double tank is something I would argue North America is specifically very heavily undervaluing. We never saw it out of Gale Force Esports, and then when it comes to Naventic, they're yet to show that they have a double tank play style.
Yeah.
And I'm fearful that if Naventic is able to move on after the series, that might be a very big hole in their play style.
Right.
So much so that past this game, I don't know if they have much of a future.
I came into this tournament, and you know it as well, coming in saying double tank is going to be the winning way.
Yes.
There is the potential that that could go down like that, but I believe we are ready to go back into the game. So thank you very much for waiting as we get back into this. You can see Tatsadar down towards the bottom getting some soak, and Zagara should be on the way down there, but she already missed a little bit.
Yeah, and PBA is already getting the giant camp. They're about to secure it here, so very early camp decision from them as the shrines just ended. If they should be able to abuse this a bit, knowing that the Zagara mismatch exists. Meanwhile, you see Naventic making the response, taking their knights on the upper half here. I actually think Naventic is pulling out ahead as long as somebody is able to help Tassadar get the clear.
This is really early knights though, right?
It is an early knights, but it's going to allow them to take an early giants as well and then push out the front wall a bit early and get a lot of XP advantage. But because nobody from Naventic is rotated down bottom, they aren't gaining as much value. I feel like somebody like Kel'Thas needed to make the rotation much earlier, and then everybody worry about your giant camp and then pressure the front wall while that next shrine is spawning. And that's going to be in roughly a minute from now.
Yeah, a giant pressure on towards that wall is quite powerful before that shrine actually pops up. And the reason for that is, guys, is because if you can do structural damage down there before that shrine pops, then your opponents have a worse time of actually retreating to somewhere of safety if a big fight breaks out. Right?
And if you manage to take out a well, they have no ability to get the tap. Like, there's a lot of value when it comes to that choice. And again, as I kind of pointed out a bit earlier, Naventic did make that rotation. They are now on the giant camp. They're going to be trying to threaten the front wall here, even cutting off a rotation onto Li Ming in the mid lane. They do get the power side combo, and she is going to be falling down. That was great timing here because the shrine's going to be spawning in the next 30 seconds here, and they will be getting a positional advantage and a structural advantage for Naventic.
Yeah, I think she'll get back just in time before it pops up, which is not bad, but it is a little bit of extra experience, and it's allowing these to push all the easier. Li Ming is one of the best tools to actually poke this kind of attack down.
Yeah, and that would have been a dead Zagara if it wasn't for Zola. Good cleanse out from him to be able to keep his team alive. And now the flank here in the 4v4, big impact's in trouble.
Baphomet and Skrull coming in from the side here, trying to lock them out, trying to stop them from actually being able to retreat. Great dash out there from Kenma, as well as a good lockdown there on towards Baphomet from the Gravity Labs. Skrull is still in. Little Druid's Might will get him out of there for now. It'll be trade for trade, blow for blow, but nobody dies. Was Sonya all the while soaking top.
Yeah, very good job min-maxing here for Naventic. They're going to back out and tap and then worry about this next shrine. Everybody on the side of PBA is rather healthy, not even really needing to tap the well quite yet, so they're in a great position here, getting their early shots. XP is going to be dead even. Whoever gets the first kill here is going to have a lot of value over the shrine. Naventic's being very patient about this.
On towards, somebody down towards the bottom there, and Muradin will jump on out. He does die though, so that is a big deal as Naventic still strong in this position. It was a great little combo that they got off towards him. Skrull putting on pressure on towards McIntyre, but not exactly enough to try and get a kill, and they are going to start soaking this temple.
Yeah, and you see that PBA understands that they have no ability to contest the shrine, get to make the rotations, get the soak as best they can. Now Naventic, though, is closing in on level 10 with a half-level lead over their opponent. Structurally, they sit in a pretty position as well. Tyrael should be able to get out of here with Smite and his Q. Yeah, there he goes.
Yeah, not
just went away.
Yeah, a little bit easy for him to get out of there with Eldurin's Might. So now you can see PBA just spreading themselves out, trying to get soaked. Kenma getting some cheeky damage in there. He should have enough mana for a dash. And Fan,
not going to matter. Calamity's going to say, no, you are gone, Monk. Very well done here.
Yeah.
Overextending a bit from Naventic.
Really not anticipating the damage coming out of Li Ming, and speaking of not anticipating the damage, Zagara gets caught out by 3 up towards the top. And we have those heroics coming in as well. Leap comes in with 7-sided strike, and as well as Phoenix, Mosh Pit, and Force Wall. So there's a bit more explosive damage coming out of Fan in this game.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be going in very aggressive for their opponents here. With the squishy backline that you see from PBA, this is going to be a risky choice. If Tyrael is able to time his positioning, oh gosh, but the stun's going to come out.
Oh, that gravity lapse with Verdant Sphere too get blown up under that. That was a brilliant little combo coming out as well.
But again, the point I was trying to make a little bit earlier was that if Tyrael can position to where he can get his Q onto his allies, get a shield, and then a nice sanctification after that leaps come in, hopefully they'll be able to keep his team alive. But right now, Naventic executed that very well, and now securing mid fort. Bottom is going to be falling relatively soon here, and they are in a great position with XP and structural advantage.
That force wall trying to push the Giants back just a smidge so that they're not doing any damage towards that fort. Cool stuff, impressive little move there. A very, very, again, min-maxing thing, really, to try and kind of eke out every little advantage as PBA rotating. They don't know that they've been spotted there for a moment by ETC up towards the top, but Zuna will get away. Verdant Sphere Gravity Lap shuts them down, and they can't continue that.
Yeah, it's a decent amount of scouting there and zoning when it came to the Phoenix. But again, the heavy commitment of resources from PBA not being able to get anything out of this. Naventic only slightly furthers their lead. Now with the double shrine going to be spawning, Sightstone is going to be the point that the teams need to control. And the middle one, so for those who don't know, like how the map layout is middle is the best to take the fight on, especially when you're on the back foot, because if you take that fight on the bottom, you can be, and top, you can be easily closed in on. But if you control the vision, which you see PBA making that rotation now, you can potentially get the flank. That's why it's such a great focus point when it comes to the shrine. If you control the vision, you usually control the shrine.
Yeah, very much so more open. You can have multiple retreat paths out of here if you are the aggressor. And Naventic gonna try and come in from all sides. Whilst PBA has the vision at the moment, they did see Kenma coming in from the top. They also saw Big Impact coming in from the right-hand side.
Yeah, and we see Alpha actually making the rotation to bottom. This is very late, which is going to give essentially Naventic now can make the rotation once they complete the shots on the mid, collapse onto the shrine, which, by the way, that fort is almost dead at this point. They're going to be able to make the aggressive rotation and completely capitalize on PBA for that rotation.
And the pressure on towards Tyrael. That's a good combo going on towards him. He might have to pop Sang, but he gets on away. And it's important to note that Meridian is the best for capturing the bottom shrine because you can just jump like that.
Yeah.
Thank you very. That was the perfect timing for that explanation. And not die, which is great.
Yeah, but again, because PBA made that rotation so slow, they're missing all these shots, giving Naventic even a greater lead over them. They are now going to be trying to get 13, but they could have. It's the second time they've lost a fight and taken too many seconds to make the choice of give it up. We can't take this fight. We're going to take the counterplay. And that decision-making is now giving Naventic the lead that they have.
Very nicely done. And we will see them just moving on up towards the top. A few shots go off on the keep wall down towards the bottom. As Zuna cleans up creep with Power Slide. Why on earth not? It's not even that much mana. Just deny some of the vision. And you can see them denying vision everywhere here.
Yeah.
Just try and limit Zagara as much as possible. That's one of the main reasons you even pick Zagara in the first place.
Yeah, it is, especially since she's been nerfed in the past when it comes to the Maw cooldown and everything of the like. Vision is one of her biggest selling points here, and her ability to take out the front line, but they haven't done any of that so far. Naventic already has all 3 forts. So from this point on, PBA has to be able to just try and take a fight that they can, and this is the best one they're going to get.
And even the orb doesn't hit, so he was able to get out of there very, very quickly. It was Zuna. I think he has... Did he take Relentless at level 13? No, actually.
No, he does not. He goes with the face mount.
Yeah, even with just that, he's able to get out of there very, very quickly and not get killed off.
PBA is in such a rough position. They need to force this fight before 16. Again, with how many structures Naventic has available, if they trade shrines, they're going to be losing every single time. With triple gravity laps coming down in the mid lane, nobody looks like they're going to be falling up for Naventic here.
Just slowing them down. Try and get towards that 16, soak where you can.
I feel like PBA doesn't know what they want to be doing in this position. Again, every single time they get it behind, their decision-making becomes more and more panicked.
And it kind of comes back to the hesitation that I was mentioning from their first group stage.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they're in a position like this, it's like, well, where do we go now? What do we do? Did they want to rival this easy camp? Well, because they were stood around it just then.
Yeah,
and it was easily taken by Naventic.
Yeah, that's the same thing that they did on the middle shrine. Great force wall from McIntyre, zoned it out.
Oh, great sanctification as well. Denies that 7-sided strike from actually completely ripping through Tyrael. So at least he gets away. The dwarf toss away from Meridian as well. They do not want to be taking that fight with level 16 just hit.
Yeah, Sanctification and 7-sided strike were both used. 7-sided will be up about 20 seconds earlier. This is only one shrine available, and now you see PBA trying to force this fight. Again, look at, they're making the rotation to take a fight 14 into 16. Like, you have the ability to go onto top and worry about that, take out a fort. They're making this weird rotations. Now you see finally Tyrael is just accepting they're going to lose the fight, but look at this.
Oh, they blow up potential on Muradin. I've got to ask though, Dread, does PBA have to be worried about the boss? I mean, before Muradin died, if they were to take bottom shrine, or if they went to commit to top, would then boss be a potential threat for them?
We actually have an instant replay before we get to that question,
Okay.
and look at how quickly the Gravity Lapse combo. This is why it's been one of the highest
And
pick leap, you know, finish them up on top. And yeah, the boss is going to be a worry point, but why do you think you would be able to take a fight over the boss
Wall.
easier than you would anything else? Great force wall.
Zagara's
Oh
gone.
my goodness.
Oh, the more attempt, but it's not going to be enough. That was a brilliant little move there by McIntyre to wall in Zagara. It's like you almost wish the majority of your wall had died off before.
Now they're in a position where this keep will be falling down with the boss. A lot of the shots still left on the shrine on the bottom half of the map. Zagara is not going to be up for 20 more seconds here. Tyrael is now just looking to get back to get a response here, but right now Naventic is in complete control, and again, it feels all because of the hesitation from PBA.
And Baphomet's actually gone give him the axe at level 16, so he doesn't have Stone Form to keep him alive. I guess he's relying on the fact that it's double warrior. He's looking for a bit more blow-up potential, and also Sanctification does have the potential of saving him if they go deep in as a group.
Yeah, it does give him a lot more damage. When you take the double tank composition, you're always fearful if your team actually has kill potential, so he's trying to make up for it with that talent choice here. One keep now down for PBA. Meanwhile, Naventic is still has a lot of structures, front walls up. They aren't worried about their keeps for the time being. And with them closing in on 20, PBA needs to be able to take this fight before that happens. Otherwise, this might be GG for them.
Yeah, it's difficult. They've got all the forts, so they've not done too badly there, but of course, it's 1.5 levels behind at the moment, so they've got to be very careful about these fights. McIntyre positioned up towards the top. They don't know who's there for the moment, and he could quite easily pop Oracle and spot exactly where everybody is. Yes, he will. And runs away, knowing that that is potential. He would have taken a lot of damage to that mirror ball, actually, if he'd have been hit by it.
Yeah, now everybody's going to be worried about getting the camps, getting the pressure, and then next shrine's going to be spawning. And again, I just can't harp enough on how worried I am for PBA. Not so much, it's not even a skill level at this point. It's legitimately just their decision making and how quick it happens. It is never fast enough to make up for the choices here. And if they do that same thing again, they're going to lose this game. But Zagara getting caught out isn't going to help anything as well.
I can't even hype that kill up. That was just... That was melted.
Yeah.
Just out-rotated, outgunned. And at the moment, PBA here trying to keep themselves alive up towards the top. Baphomet's already popped his avatar, but he might get killed off during all of this. He didn't have Stone Form, he didn't have Dwarf Toss. He was just killed off outright. And that is going to be even Scroll as well as GodDog having to just move away for now. GodDog is playing with fire, being that far forwards, but he'll be all right.
Oh man, he's still playing with fire actually, trying to get the poke out here. Now a shrine will be spawning. There's no other structure, objective at all for PBA to get a counter response here. They're just gonna have to wait for the team to spawn as best they can, mitigate the damage as best they can as well. Because right now, you're gonna see Naventic now threatening another keep in the mid lane.
And they'll get level 20 soon.
Yep.
We'll get level 20 soon. This is going to be very, very difficult for them to contend with. McIntyre going to clean up bot lane. Just really good soak overall. They've actually left McIntyre way away. It's as if Tassadar has a global on this map. It's been weird, but he's done so much soaking of that experience.
Yeah, and now you see PBA trying to buy the time here. Naventic now is so close to 20. I don't even think that they're going to risk the fight until they do get 20. For now, yeah, you may see them making the rotations here. PBA is doing a good job of taking as many shots as they can, but once they hit 20, they need to be backing out, and here it is.
Yeah, they know that 3 are down here. Baphomet's trying to zone them out for a moment, while at the same time, lots of damage
Now
going
they're
on towards
forcing the
Zuna.
fight.
Yeah, they've got to back off. There's no way. Gravity Lapse with Verdant Sphere, a lot of damage going on to Baphomet. And he'll just have to move away and regen. He didn't get knocked below 40%, so he's not going to regen naturally even off his trait.
Yeah, the shots aren't going to be able to secure the keep because PBA was able to deny a few here. I like this from them. They're making the rotation, trying to get a pick somewhere in the map. Keep in mind with all of its weight, big impact though, is going to get holy ground. No, not going to be the case there.
Could have been scary for him.
Yeah, if everybody on PBA made that rotation, that was actually a moment where they might have been able to make a big play. Now you see Naventic rotating to try and take the keep here on mid.
And of course, Kael'thas does a lot of damage before, but now he does even more with arcane power available to him. So if any explosive potential can come in, it's definitely from big impact. Good system. Oh my god, was that a blink into power slide there from Zuna down towards the bot?
Yeah, and Kemba getting very aggressive, throwing out the step side strike. The force wall flank from McIntyre.
Trying to do something with it. Doesn't quite catch anybody though. Gravity Lapse on towards Baphomet, and he will move away for the moment.
That was, again, I feel like this is rinse and repeat for PBA. They're in a position where they don't know what they want to be doing. Again, they had the opportunity to possibly get a pick onto Big Impact. Only rotating as one. When it comes to the shrines, they lose one person, dance around for too long, lose a little bit of the shots on the other side of the map. And it's not like they've been able to close in into 20 when they try and make those things happen. All they keep doing is losing more players and losing more keeps.
Yeah.
They need to be together. I mean, it's been said time and time again that you need to be able to stick together, worry about it. 5 people a bad call, it's better in every way, shape, and form. And they need to be moving as a team here, trying to make the plays, because at this point, it's match point.
They don't have 20. ETC will have Bolt of the Storm available to him just a bit, and that can be very, very devastating here for PBA if they group up, and if Zuna sniffs it out, he's going to power slide forwards, trying to catch as many as possible. That's going to be 7-sided strike going on towards them. We see already that Rehgar is very, very low in the thick of things. He's going to end up going down. Mosh Pit is going down onto one, on towards Muradin, while the other two at the front are being zoned out during all of this. Leeming ends up going down. Force Wall to try and block out Zagara. What's McIntyre, of all people, is chasing, and he gets her! He gets Zagara. McIntyre with the play. Does he have Dimensional Warp left over? Yes, he does with Prescience. So he should be okay to escape.
And now with 3 members dead, you see Naventic backing out, trying to get onto the boss. There's very little control here. Holy Ground is the only option to zone off of this, but they shouldn't be able to get it enough here. And I would expect PBA is going to get aggressive here, and they're just going to turn onto him. There it is.
Yep.
Is the entire team doesn't commit, miss the gravity lapse here, so Skrull still has an opportunity, but they know the only way they can lose this boss is him, so you see the entire team in Naventic trying to make that rotation onto him.
Skrull's trying his best. He technically has Holy Ground.
It's too early.
Yeah. Did it hit people? I think it's off court now. I don't think it'll be enough. That's going to be 7-sided, and Tyrael dies before he even gets an opportunity. Naventic slowed the boss down. They will guarantee the pickup. It's like a poor man's gust, but it wasn't even at the right time.
A poor man's gust. Now they're making the aggression to try and end the game here. Naventic should be able to do it, and it's going to be even more secured if that leap combo comes out. It does. He doesn't even have the opportunity to pop anything. He will be falling down. Another member here, PBA on the back foot, trying to survive, but I don't think it's going to matter. Ma is the only redeeming grace, and guess what? It's on a 30-second cooldown.
And they're at the core. The boss isn't even there yet, but when it reaches, they're going to be fine and dandy. As you can see, Goddog trying to do as much damage as possible there, but the core is already falling. McIntyre taking some damage from all of that, but PBA will get blown up. Li Ming goes down, and that will be Naventic surviving. Naventic moving on to the Deciders match later on during the day. Unfortunately for PBA, the road comes to an end.
It does come to an end, but I mean, it was a great showing from them. Again, I don't think we can say it enough. They are the first time ever in Heroes of the Storm history that someone from what is considered the lower 4 regions managed to make it to top 8. It's been very impressive, every single thing that they've done. They put up great games against some of the biggest names in the world, and I don't think anybody can take that away from them.
Yeah, they even gave a little bit of a tussle to E-Star here on the big stage. So PBA will be eliminated here whilst Naventic lives on. PBA will not be the 2-time America killers here in the Summer Championship, Dread.
I know. I don't know if I'm happy or sad about that. It would have been like, it's a great story. Like, they're just the North American killers at the same time. I mean, obviously, I'm happy to see that Naventic does make it on. I expected them to win, and I'm glad that they were able to pull through because they looked very weak in their matchup against MVP.
Yeah, they seem to have been hitting their stride a little bit more, though, in this series. That's for sure. So Naventic live on, and we shall head over to the panel to see what they have to say about our lose match.
Thank you very much, Kalaris and Dreadnought, and NA is still safe. They're still in this tournament. Makes me very happy personally because I always like Naventic as a team. I like their mentality. I like some of their players. But it also makes me a little bit sad that we see PBA dropping out. Of course, they have surprised a lot of people. They are very likable, very nice team to watch here and to see grow, of course. But hey, in the end, it wasn't enough, guys. What do you think was one of the strengths, one of the biggest buffs for Naventic in this game?
I mean, Naventic clearly showed why they're as powerful as they are. They kept up the aggression. They had really good drafts this time around. They were able to capitalize on a lot of things that we didn't see them necessarily do well against MVP Black. Again, remember, they still have another chance to get in. Can they take on the loser of the next game, and will they be able to keep up this type of momentum?
It's tough to say. It really, really is, but I think they stepped up their drafting big time, and PBA's drafting was really weak, especially in that second game, and the amount of times Tyrael died there and the Sanks that we saw just didn't really work out. So I'm not trying to say that PBA lost it and Naventic didn't win it, but Naventic looked a lot better. They stepped up their drafting. I don't know if they're going to get out of this group. I'm kind of leaning towards no, but at least they're on the up, because after that MVP Black series, I wasn't sure if they're going to be able to bounce back.
It's actually pretty tough to tell, because for us, PBA is always like, it was the underdog story. Everybody was like a little bit rooting for them after they made it out of groups, and it's always nice to like cheer for the underdog. At the same time, we have seen them do great things, but how valuable is that victory now for Naventic going up into the next game? Because like, let's say for a moment MVP takes down E-Star, E-Star drops out. They took down PBA with a 2-0 victory as well and looked very dominant, especially on the second map. So for Naventic, this is still very difficult to judge how strong they actually are.
Definitely. They still have a long way to go, but for now, we have replay number 2, and Jay-Hao is going to talk you through it.
I mean, it's just a showing from Naventic time and time again. I mean, this is just a beautiful force wall. It doesn't matter who's playing it. We've got McIntyre on it. You're going to see the continued follow-up. Devouring Maul not going to be enough to save. That's what you call a panic maul right there. Deleted. Down goes Zagara. We saw the continued rotation time and time again. Nice force walls, nice follow-up. Again, the ETC Kel'Thas combo has just been a tremendous, tremendous thing throughout. And we are good to go. We're going to make sure that we have a big impact ready there. I think he should be good to go.
There you go. I was just worried for a bit that not everything is set up properly, but we're fine to go. And of course, we're being joined by one of the victors from Team Naventic, and it is in Big Impact. How are you doing, sir? How happy are you about this victory?
I'm doing good and pretty happy. Like, happy that we didn't lose and place 8.
Right. Definitely, that would have been a little bit too early for Team Naventic and NA, of course. Is the fact that you are the only remaining North American team something that gives you a little bit of extra morale and a boost in overall comfort? Or is it something that you don't really care too much about?
I don't know about my teammates, but it's a little pressure because we're the last American team.
Right. You can also hold the microphone a little bit closer,
Okay.
by the way. I'm sure that there's a lot more questions to be asked, so Wolf, why don't you go ahead?
First thing I want to ask is McIntyre has played now 4 different types of roles, 4 different heroes. How often do you guys swap roles in practice versus, you know, in a big tournament, a big stage like this?
It honestly just happens. Like, we don't even know when we decide these things. It happens in draft.
Okay.
I have a question for you. You're the newest member. Obviously, this is a little bit different roster with you showing here. You talked about the pressure maybe a little bit for you to be able to come out and perform for NA. What is the mentality, and what have you taken away from your teammates? Because they were here just a few months ago, but you're here now as the new guy. Is there pressure on you to perform, and what is the team's overall mentality coming in?
I don't feel pressure from my team, but I feel pressure because it's my first international tournament. But my teammates, they're really confident, so it makes me confident. Like, if you're confident in your team and they're confident in you, then you're good. Overall, I was surprised. Korean teams are really good.
A little good to say the least. And is that something you're probably going to have to go up against? It's going to be MVP Black and E-Star. Would you rather be facing E-Star at this point after your first game with MVP Black?
I think so.
Color, you have a final question for Big Impact.
I would actually like to know how you value the victory against PBA. Let's assume for a moment that MVP makes it through the group as everybody expects and that you're going up against E-Star next. E-Star also played a series against PBA already. How do you actually value the victory against PBA right now, and how worried are you potentially going up against E-Star?
Not too worried. I think if we play our game and we draft well, if we don't go insane draft, then we're good. And like overall, I think we played cleaner than E-Star did against PBA. So
they had very interesting drafts though, especially on Battlefield of Eternity, a bit of a rush comp. Is that something that you looked at and said like, yeah, we can beat this, or are you a little bit afraid that they might throw something at you that you're not used to?
honestly, not sure. We just have to see.
All right, Big Impact, thank you very much for your answers here on the desk, and good luck on your future path here in this tournament. Good luck. For now, though, guys, ever since Naventic is still in this tournament and PBA is out, of course, there has been a little bit of a change going on. So we are going to take a look at the bracket together and see what it currently looks like. Of course, the winner's match between E-Star Gaming and MVP Black is going to be the big showdown between two of the strongest regions that we have in Heroes of the Storm. Whereas in the lower bracket, or in the deciders match, if you will, there is Naventic waiting for the loser of this big showdown. Now, Jay-Hao, is there something we can expect from these two dominant forces? Maybe new picks, maybe a new strategy, something that they haven't really unveiled just yet?
I think the potential is there, but the thing I think, this is the biggest game yet that we've had all week long.
All tournament long.
Yes.
This is the biggest rivalry in Asia. The biggest. The only team to take games off Black until Tempest was E-Star, and they nearly defeated them in the grand finals of the Chinese tournament. And everyone's saying E-Star's the only team that can actually beat MVP Black in this tournament, and maybe they could actually beat them here in this first group stage. I personally don't think so. I think Tempest has a better shot, but hey, if E-Star does this, it would be a huge upset, but there is that potential there, and there's so much hype behind this huge rivalry from Asia.
Definitely.
There's also a lot of strategy that go into these games in the second group stage, because you go up against opponents that you know you could face them later on in the tournament again. So when we're talking about E-Star and MVP, we talk always about like pocket drafts and about like teams that have a special draft prepared. And I guess like all of the teams here certainly have like 1 or 2 hero choices that are a little bit unusual that they want to show as late as possible. At this point, kind of everybody expects that MVP goes through. E-Star is looking at this, so like I have a choice right now. Do we show everything? Or do we just accept that we might lose this, and then we still, you know, the losing team still has a shot in the consolation match, so you're not out. You don't have to go full on out here right now. You're of course going to try and do your best and play as strong as you possibly can. But if you have to face, or if you have to show your best strategy, you're probably going to show it against a bit weaker team, because there you have better chances of actually just like making it through.
Definitely, and let's not forget, as Calder pointed out, the loser of this upcoming winners match is not out of the tournament. Instead, they will then meet a charging up Naventic that is getting stronger by the minute, of course. For now, though, we have another announcement to make. If you are interested in specific heroes here and there, if you want to invite your friends over and say, hey, why don't you give that one a try, it is now free for the taking, because Blizzard actually creates a free hero week from the 24th, until the 27th of June. So definitely worth checking it out and definitely worth giving it a shot. What is also worth giving a shot is, of course, the Score Esports. It's a nice app that keeps you up to date, not only in esports and Heroes of the Storm, but also in other sectors. Always nice to check out esports news in general, so definitely don't miss it. For now, we're going into a short commercial break. We're waiting until our heroic abilities are back off cooldown, and yeah, see you in a bit, guys. Stay tuned.